Daniel was the kind of guy who liked things predictable. Every single morning, his alarm went off at 6:30. He'd make the same breakfast, wear similar clothes, and catch the 7:15 train to work. It wasn't boring to him. It was comfortable, safe. He knew exactly what to expect from each day, and that's how he liked it. The train ride was his favorite part of the morning. 40 minutes of peace before the chaos of work started. He'd sit in the same spot every time. Third car from the front, right side, window seat. He knew all the regular faces on that train, even though he'd never spoken to most of them. There was the older gentleman who always wore expensive suits and read the newspaper, the young college kid who slept through half the journey with music blasting in his ears, the sweet grandmother type who knitted colorful scarves and sometimes smiled at everyone. Daniel liked observing people. He'd make up little stories about their lives in his head, where they were going, what they did for work, whether they were happy or sad. It was his quiet entertainment during those morning rides. That Tuesday started exactly like every other Tuesday. Daniel grabbed his coffee from the usual shop, boarded the train at exactly 7:15, and headed to his favorite seat. But something different happened that morning, something that would mess up his perfectly organized life in the best possible way. She came rushing through the train doors just as they were about to close. Her bag was huge, some kind of art portfolio that kept bumping into seats as she moved through the aisle. She had a coffee cup in one hand that looked ready to spill any second, and her other hand was trying to keep her bag from hitting people. Her hair was tied up in a messy bun, the kind that looked like it had been done in 30 seconds while running out the door. She wore this really cool denim jacket that had all sorts of colorful patches and designs sewn onto it. Most of the seats were already taken. People on morning trains aren't usually friendly about sharing space. They put bags on empty seats, spread out, avoid eye contact. But the seat next to Daniel was empty. It was always empty, actually. He'd never really thought about why. Maybe people liked the other seats better, or maybe they just didn't want to sit next to a quiet guy who kept to himself. She didn't hesitate. Didn't ask if the seat was taken. Just said a quick, "Sorry," as she squeezed past him to get to the window seat. When she sat down, she was close. Really close. The seats on these trains weren't exactly spacious, and with her big portfolio bag taking up floor space, there wasn't much room to spread out. Daniel suddenly became very aware of everything. He could smell her perfume, something that reminded him of flowers but also mixed with coffee and maybe paint. He noticed that her jacket sleeve was touching his arm. He saw that her fingernails had chipped purple polish and what looked like charcoal or pencil marks all over her hands. Her knee was bouncing up and down, the way nervous people's knees do. She kept checking her watch every few minutes. He tried to focus on his phone, tried to look at emails or news or anything that would make him seem busy and normal. But his brain wasn't cooperating. His heart was doing this weird thing where it felt like it was beating too fast and too loud. Could she hear it? That would be embarrassing. He felt warm. Even though the train's air conditioning was working fine, his hands felt awkward. Where do you put your hands when someone is sitting this close? On your lap? On the armrest? He chose his lap, which somehow felt like the safest option. She pulled out a sketchbook from her bag and started drawing something. Daniel couldn't help but glance over. Just quick looks, so she wouldn't notice. She was good. Really good. The drawing looked like buildings, but artistic, not like architectural plans. More like the way an artist sees the world. With interesting angles and shading, the train rolled on, stopping at each station like it always did. Daniel usually got off at the 5th stop. That was his stop. Had been his stop for 3 years now. But this morning, he completely forgot about it. He was too busy being aware of the person sitting next to him, too busy noticing small details, like the way she tilted her head when she was concentrating on her drawing, or how she bit her lower lip slightly when she was thinking. The announcement for his stop came through the speakers. Daniel's brain finally clicked back to reality. He jumped up so fast he almost tripped over her bag. She quickly moved her legs to let him pass, mumbling another sorry, even though it wasn't really her fault. He grabbed his things and rushed to the doors just as they were starting to close. Standing on the platform, watching the train pull away, Daniel realized something strange had just happened. He'd ridden that train 1,000 times. Nothing ever changed. Nothing ever felt different, but today, everything felt different, and he didn't even know her name. Wednesday morning, Daniel woke up thinking about the train. Actually, he'd woken up several times during the night thinking about the train, which was weird because he'd never lost sleep over public transportation before. He told himself he was being ridiculous. It was just a person sitting next to him. That happened to people every day on trains all over the world. No big deal. But when he boarded the train that morning, his eyes automatically scanned the seats looking for that denim jacket. And there she was. Same seat. The one next to his usual spot. She was already sketching something in her notebook. A fresh coffee cup sitting carefully on the small ledge by the window. Daniel sat down, trying to act casual. Like this was completely normal, and his heart wasn't doing that weird racing thing again. She glanced up briefly, gave a small smile, then went back to her drawing. That smile did something to his chest, made it feel tight and loose at the same time, if that was even possible. Thursday, the same thing happened. She was there. Same seat. Same coffee. Same focused expression while she drew. Daniel started wondering if maybe she'd always taken this train and he'd just never noticed. But no, he would have noticed. He noticed everything about his morning routine. Friday morning, Daniel actually got to the station a few minutes early. Not on purpose, he told himself. He just happened to wake up earlier. Had nothing to do with wanting to see if she'd be there. When she showed up and chose that seat again, even though there were other empty seats available, something shifted in his mind. This wasn't random anymore. This was becoming a pattern. Their pattern. The train jerked suddenly as it rounded a curve. Her coffee cup tilted dangerously toward her lap. Without thinking, Daniel's hand shot out and caught it, his fingers wrapping around the cup at the same time as hers. For just a second, their hands were both holding the cup together. Her fingers were warm from the coffee. He could feel her silver ring pressing against his thumb. "Thank you so much," she said, and Daniel heard her voice properly for the first time. It was softer than he expected, kind of gentle. "I would have been wearing that coffee all the way to work." "No problem," Daniel managed to say, even though his voice came out a bit weird. "Better to catch it than clean it up." She smiled at him again. But this time, it was different. Bigger. More real. Her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled like that. They were brown, he noticed. Light brown, like honey when you hold it up to the sun. They both let go of the cup at the same time, and she set it down more carefully on the ledge. Then she went back to her drawing, but Daniel caught her glancing at him once or twice from the corner of her eye. Or maybe he was imagining it because he was doing the same thing. That weekend felt longer than usual. Daniel met up with his friends on Saturday like he always did, but he found himself distracted. His best friend Tom noticed. "You okay? You've been staring at that same menu page for 5 minutes." "Yeah, I'm fine. Just tired." "Tired? You look more like you're thinking really hard about something. Or someone." Tom grinned. "Is there someone?" "No, maybe. I don't know. There's this girl on my train." Tom nearly spit out his drink. Daniel, Mr. Routine himself, is interested in a random girl on the train? This is breaking news. Shut up. It's not like that. We haven't even really talked. She just sits next to me. Every day? This week, yeah. And you haven't said anything beyond, "Excuse me," or whatever. I said no problem when I saved her coffee yesterday. Tom shook his head, laughing. "Man, you need help. Talk to her. Like actual conversation. What's the worst that could happen?" Daniel could think of many things that could go wrong. She could think he was weird. She could be married. She could be annoyed that some stranger was bothering her during her peaceful morning commute. She could start sitting somewhere else to avoid him. The list went on. But Sunday night, lying in bed, Daniel made a decision. Monday morning, if she was there again, he'd say something. Something real, not just, "Excuse me," or "No problem." An actual conversation starter. He spent an hour thinking of possibilities before finally falling asleep. Monday morning came with rain. Heavy, annoying rain that made everyone grumpy and wet, despite umbrellas and raincoats. Daniel arrived at the station soaked. His umbrella had basically given up halfway through his walk. He was standing under the small shelter, trying to dry his glasses with his equally wet shirt, when he saw her. She was huddled against the wall, her portfolio bag held against her chest like a shield, her denim jacket dark with rainwater. She looked miserable and cold, and before Daniel could overthink it, the words came out. "This weather is absolutely terrible." She looked up, and when she recognized him, her whole face changed. "Oh, you're the coffee rescue guy from the train." Daniel felt his face get warm despite the cold rain. "I guess that's me. Though I hope that's not my only identifying feature." She laughed, and the sound made the dreary morning feel a little less gray. "I'm Lily," she said, extending her hand. "Daniel." He shook her hand, noticing again those paint stains on her fingers. They boarded the train together, naturally moving toward their usual seats. But this time, everything felt different, because now they had names. Now they were two people who'd introduced themselves, not just strangers who happened to share space. "So, coffee rescue. Is that your superpower?" Lily asked, settling into her seat. "It's a new skill I'm developing." Still in the trial phase, Daniel surprised himself with the joke. He wasn't usually funny with strangers. "Well, you're doing great so far. My lap thanks you." She pulled out her sketchbook but didn't start drawing right away. "What do you do? Besides preventing coffee disasters?" I work with data analysis, spreadsheets, numbers, finding patterns in information. It's more interesting than it sounds." "I'm sure it is. Everything's interesting when you explain it right. I just got a job at an art gallery downtown. That's why I've been taking this train. I had 4 interviews last week, and they finally said yes on Friday." That explained the nervous knee bouncing, the constant watch checking. "Congratulations! That's amazing!" "Thanks. I'm pretty excited." Terrified, but excited. Lily opened her sketchbook, and Daniel saw it was filled with drawings of buildings, people, random objects. "All really good. I've been sketching the city every morning, trying to capture it before I get too used to it and stop seeing it, you know?" Daniel did know. That happened with everything. You stop noticing things once they became routine. Except he was noticing everything right now. The way Lily tucked her hair behind her ear when she talked, the small scar above her left eyebrow, the way her jacket had a tiny embroidered sunflower on the pocket. Their conversation flowed easily. Lily told him about moving to the city 2 months ago, about her tiny apartment that had great light but terrible heating, about how she'd gotten lost 3 times in her first week and ended up in completely wrong neighborhoods. Daniel found himself talking more than he usually did, sharing stories about his sister who lived across the country, about the time he'd accidentally gone to the wrong office building for a job interview and didn't realize until he was actually in the interview. The days started blending together in the best way. Every morning, they'd meet at the station and board the train together. Their conversations grew longer, more personal. Daniel learned that Lily was allergic to strawberries but loved how strawberry shampoo smelled, that she'd once locked herself in a museum bathroom overnight during a school trip and had to be rescued by security in the morning, that she missed her family but needed to be in the city for her career. Lily learned that Daniel played piano but hadn't touched one in years, that he was terrible at cooking but made excellent scrambled eggs, that he'd wanted to study weather patterns in college but ended up in data analysis instead and didn't regret it. One morning, Lily showed up with 2 coffee cups. She handed one to Daniel. "Thought I'd return the favor for saving my coffee that day. This one's actually for you to drink, not rescue." Daniel took the cup, their fingers brushing briefly. "You didn't have to do that." "I know. I wanted to." She sat down, pulling out her sketchbook. "Besides, you've been listening to me talk about art gallery drama for 2 weeks. The least I can do is buy you coffee. I like hearing about it. Your boss sounds like a character. That's a nice way of saying he's weird." Yesterday, he spent 30 minutes explaining why a completely white canvas with one blue dot in the corner was genius. I'm still not convinced it wasn't just unfinished, Daniel laughed. Maybe that's the genius part, making people wonder. As weeks passed, their morning train rides became the highlight of Daniel's day. He started looking forward to mornings in a way he never had before. Even on rough days, knowing he'd see Lily made getting up easier. His friend Tom noticed the change. "You're different lately," Tom said during one of their weekend hangouts. "Happier, maybe? Less stuck in your routine. I met someone. Her name's Lily. We take the same train. And? Have you asked her out yet?" "It's not like that. We're friends. We talk on the train." Tom gave him a look. "Daniel, come on. You talk about her constantly. Your face does this thing when you mention her name. It's definitely like that." Maybe Tom was right. Maybe it was like that. Daniel had started noticing things that went beyond friendly interest. The way his mood dropped on the rare mornings when Lily wasn't on the train. How he thought about her during the day, wondering what she was doing at the gallery. One morning, as the train pulled into the city station, Lily turned to Daniel with a thoughtful expression. "You know, there's this really good coffee shop near the gallery. They make way better coffee than the chain place by the station. If you ever want to grab one before work, I mean, if you have time." Daniel's heart did that stupid racing thing again. "Tomorrow," he heard himself say. "Tomorrow works." Lily smiled. That's how their morning coffee meetings started. Daniel would get to the city 15 minutes earlier than he needed to, and they'd sit in the small coffee shop with the mismatched chairs and talk until Lily had to leave for the gallery. Then, somehow, those morning coffees turned into lunch meetings. Daniel started taking his lunch break at a small park, halfway between his office and Lily's gallery. They'd sit on a bench, eating sandwiches and watching people pass by. "See that guy?" Lily would point at someone. "What's his story?" "One, he's a secret agent pretending to be an accountant. The briefcase has spy gadgets, obviously. And that woman? She's actually a time traveler. Comes to this park every day to make sure the timeline stays correct." It was silly, but it was their thing. Making up stories about strangers the way Daniel used to do alone on the train. But it was better with Lily. Funnier. More creative. Lunch meetings became dinner plans. The first time Daniel invited Lily to dinner at a restaurant. He'd been so nervous he'd rehearsed what to say 3 times, but Lily had just said "I'd love to" so easily that all his nervousness seemed silly afterward. They went to a small Italian place where the owner treated everyone like family, and the portions were huge. Lily tried to order in Italian, got half of it wrong, and made the waiter laugh. Daniel discovered he'd been saying bruschetta wrong his entire life, and Lily teased him about it for the rest of the evening. His sister called that weekend. "Mom says you've been different lately." "There might be." "Daniel, tell me everything. What's her name? How'd you meet?" "Her name's Lily. We met on the train. She's an artist working at a gallery. She's funny and creative, and way out of my league." "Stop that. Nobody's out of your league. Have you told her how you feel?" "We're taking it slow. Being friends first." His sister sighed. "Daniel, you've been taking it slow your whole life. Sometimes you need to just go for it." But going for it was scary. What if he ruined the friendship? What if Lily didn't feel the same way? These questions kept Daniel up at night, especially on the nights after they'd had really good conversations or when Lily had laughed at his jokes in that way that made her whole face light up. The signs were there, though. Daniel wasn't completely clueless. The way Lily would sometimes touch his arm when she was making a point. How she remembered small things he mentioned, like his favorite movie or the fact that he liked rainy days. The way their goodbye hugs had started lasting a bit longer, both of them hesitating before letting go. One Friday evening, they stayed at the restaurant until closing time. They were the last customers there, and the staff was politely cleaning around them. Outside, autumn had arrived properly. The air had that sharp cold that promised winter wasn't far away. They walked slowly toward the station, neither of them in a rush to end the evening. Lily shivered in her denim jacket, and Daniel immediately shrugged off his coat. "Here, take this. You'll be cold." I'll be fine. He draped it over her shoulders, and suddenly, they were standing very close. Close enough that Daniel could count the freckles on her nose if he wanted to. Close enough to see that her eyes had little gold flecks in them that he'd never noticed before. "Daniel," Lily said softly, and her voice had something in it that made his breath catch. His phone rang. The sound was jarring, breaking whatever moment had been building between them. Daniel pulled it out, saw his mom's name on the screen, and his stomach dropped. His mom never called this late unless something was wrong. "I'm sorry, I need to take this," he said, stepping back. "Of course." His mother's voice was strained. His father had collapsed at home. They were at the hospital. The doctors said it probably wasn't serious, but they were running tests. Daniel needed to come home, not to his apartment, but home, the place where he grew up, 3 states away. "I have to go," Daniel said, his mind already racing through logistics, flights, packing, work emails to send. "My dad's in the hospital." "Oh my God, is he okay?" "They think so. They hope so. But I need to get there tonight." Lily grabbed his hand. "Go. Do whatever you need to do. Text me when you can, okay? Let me know he's all right." Daniel nodded, squeezed her hand once, then headed toward the train that would take him to his apartment so he could pack. The next 3 weeks were a blur of hospital rooms and family stress. Daniel's father was okay, thank goodness. The collapse had been from dehydration and exhaustion, not a heart attack like they'd feared. But recovery took time, and his parents needed help. His mom was trying to do everything herself and wearing herself out in the process. Daniel stayed to help. He worked remotely when he could, helped around the house, drove his dad to follow-up appointments, and made sure his mom actually sat down and ate meals. It was exhausting but necessary. He texted Lily every day. At first, it was updates about his dad. Then it became more. He'd tell her about funny things his dad said, or memories that came back while he was in his childhood home. Lily would respond with encouragement and terrible jokes that somehow always made him smile, even on the hardest days. "How's the patient today?" She'd text. "Grumpy. Wants real coffee. Not decaf. Tried to sneak out to the garage to work on his old car. Sounds like he's feeling better then." "Unfortunately, yes. He's a terrible patient. You're a good son for being there." Those messages kept Daniel going. But as days turned into weeks, something started feeling different. The texts became a bit shorter on Lily's end. Sometimes she'd take hours to respond when she used to reply right away. Daniel told himself she was busy with work. The gallery was probably demanding. She had her own life. But doubt crept in anyway. What if the moment had passed? What if whatever had been building between them had faded because he'd left right when things were getting real? Long distance was hard. Even temporary long distance. Maybe Lily had realized she didn't want to wait around for someone who might need to drop everything and leave again. Finally, after 3 weeks, his dad was stable enough that Daniel felt okay leaving. His sister was coming to stay for a while, and they'd hired a part-time nurse to help out. Daniel booked his ticket back to the city with mixed feelings. Relief that his dad was okay. Anxiety about what he'd find when he got back. His first morning back, Daniel went to the train station early. His hands were shaking slightly as he waited on the platform. When the train arrived, he found their usual seats and waited. Lily didn't show up. The next day, same thing. Empty seat. No messages explaining why. By the 3rd day, Daniel was starting to panic. He texted her, "I'm back. Miss our coffee talks." Hours passed before she responded. "I'm so glad your dad is okay. I've missed you too. But I need to tell you something. And I'd rather do it in person. Tomorrow morning? Our spot?" Daniel barely slept that night. His mind ran through every possible scenario. She'd met someone else. She'd realized they were better as friends. She'd gotten a new job and was moving away. Each possibility felt worse than the last. Friday morning, Daniel was at the station 30 minutes early. He paced back and forth until he saw Lily walking toward him. She'd cut her hair shorter, just to her shoulders. It suited her. She looked beautiful, and nervous, and determined all at once. They boarded the train in silence, and sat in their usual seats. Daniel's heart was pounding so hard, he was sure everyone on the train could hear it. "I was scared," Lily said, staring at her hands. "While you were gone, I realized something. I missed you so much, it actually hurt. Like physically hurt. And that terrified me because I've been hurt before. I had a relationship that ended badly, and I promised myself I wouldn't let anyone get that close again." She took a shaky breath. "So, when you left, I started avoiding the train. Avoiding you, trying to convince myself that we were just friends, and I was being silly." Daniel wanted to speak, but Lily held up her hand. "Let me finish. I couldn't do it. I couldn't convince myself. Every morning I took a different train. I thought about you. Every coffee I got reminded me of our talks. Every interesting thing that happened, I wanted to tell you about it." She finally looked up at him. "That night before you left, when your phone rang and you had to go, if it hadn't rung, what would have happened?" Daniel didn't hesitate. "I would have kissed you. I've wanted to since that first morning when you sat next to me and my heart completely forgot how to act normal. It still doesn't know. Every single time I see you, every time you smile, every time you exist anywhere near me, my heart has absolutely no idea what it's doing." Lily's eyes were shining. "That might be the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. Is it working?" "It's definitely working." Lily leaned in, and Daniel met her halfway. When their lips touched, the whole train seemed to disappear. It wasn't like fireworks or explosions or any of those dramatic things people described. It was better. It was like everything clicking into place, like finding something you didn't know you'd been searching for your whole life. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling like idiots. "So," Lily said, her hand finding his. "Coffee after work? Coffee after work, and dinner, and tomorrow's breakfast if you're free.